What if I told you that while most of the world is still stuck in traffic jams, one African nation just leapfrogged everyone else and became the first on the continent to successfully test a flying taxi?
And Rwanda has carried out the public flight of a self-flying electric car taxi in the country, the first of its kind in the African continent.
So ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts, keep your minds open, and let's take off on this journey together. Welcome to Aviation Africa 2025, Murakaza Neza Ichigari.
Today, for the first time in Africa, a self-flying air taxi will take to the skies.
And wait until you hear why Rwanda was chosen over countries like the US, Germany, or Japan for this groundbreaking test. The reason will blow your mind. But first, smash that like button, because what you're about to see is going to change how you think about the future of transportation forever. This is Kigali, Rwanda, with a population of 1.4 million. During the Aviation Africa 2025 summit, the country experienced the first ever public flight of a self-flying passenger drone.
Welcome to The Explainer. So how does an entire nation manage to skip decades of development to put pilotless taxis in the sky? Today, we're going to look at exactly how Rwanda is shaping the future of transportation, and they're doing it right now. Okay, let's just dive right in. While most of the world is still stuck in meetings debating regulations for simple drone deliveries, Rwanda just went ahead and hosted a public flight that sent, and I mean this, shockwaves through the aviation industry. The real question is, how? So, this all happened in Kigali, right in the middle of the Aviation Africa 2025 summit. And look, this wasn't some secret test out in a remote area. No way. This was a public demonstration of a fully autonomous self-flying passenger drone, the very first of its kind on the continent. And you've got to understand, this flight was a statement. Rwanda was basically planting a flag and signaling to the world that it plans to be a central player in the next generation of transportation. But before we get into the why of it all, let's take a look at the incredible machine that made this possible, right? Let's geek out on the tech for a minute, because what makes this flying taxi so revolutionary is the aircraft itself. We're talking about the E-Hang A216s. And honestly, its specs sound like they're pulled straight out of science fiction. So get this, it's completely pilotless. 2 passengers just climb in and the vehicle does all the work. It cruises at 130 kilometers per hour, which is about 80 miles per hour, and it's all electric. Now just think about what this really means for getting around a city. A trip from downtown Kigali to the airport can easily take 45 minutes in traffic. In the E-Hang, it's a 5-minute flight. That's not just an improvement. It's a complete game changer for how a city can function. And of course, the big question is always safety. Well, this aircraft is built with incredible layers of redundancy. It has 16 separate rotors, so if one motor fails, 15 others are still keeping you in the air. It's got triple redundant flight controls and multiple independent battery packs. The whole design philosophy is to make a catastrophic failure pretty much impossible, and the economics are just as disruptive. A new E-Hang costs about $410,000. A traditional helicopter, you're talking millions. Then you add in no pilot salary, no expensive jet fuel, and much simpler maintenance, and you start to see how this technology could become widely accessible and not just for the super rich. Which brings us right back to the central mystery here. Why Rwanda? Why not a place like Silicon Valley or Tokyo? I mean, this is a country that just 30 years ago faced unimaginable tragedy. So how did it become Africa's aviation pioneer? Well, the answer is that this was no accident. It's the result of a very deliberate decade-long strategy. If we go back to 2016, while other countries were still just talking about it, Rwanda launched the world's first national drone delivery service to get blood and medical supplies to remote areas. And by 2021, the results were just staggering. 75% of all blood deliveries outside the capital, the city was being made by drone. This wasn't some tiny pilot program. This was using autonomous aircraft to save lives on a massive scale. And here's where their strategy is just brilliant. They turned a problem into a massive advantage. Their mountainous terrain makes road travel slow and really difficult. So instead of spending decades and billions building roads, they just decided to build their infrastructure in the sky. This national vision is backed up by a government and a regulatory environment that actually encourages innovation. They've created a system that can test and approve new technologies in months, not years, all while keeping safety standards incredibly high. So What does this one demonstration really mean for the rest of Africa? Well, the implications are huge because this isn't just a story about Rwanda. It's a potential new model for development across the entire continent. What Rwanda is doing is a perfect example of what's called leapfrogging. You know how much of Africa skipped the expensive rollout of telephone landlines and just went straight to mobile phones? Well, Rwanda is aiming to do the same thing with transportation. Skip the slow, costly development of roads and railways and jump straight to a three-dimensional transport network. And if you want to understand the scale of the problem these flying taxis could solve, just look at this. Africa has 17% of the world's population, but only 3% of its paved roads. Building out traditional infrastructure to fix that would take trillions of dollars and decades. An aerial network could be built in a fraction of that time and cost. And the economic impact of connecting the continent this way, it's absolutely staggering. McKinsey estimates that this new kind of air mobility could add $1.5 billion to Africa's GDP every single year by 2035. And really that feels like just the beginning. But this isn't just some far-off dream. Rwanda has a clear, actionable plan to make it a reality, which proves this demonstration was anything but a one-off stunt. They're proving that their strategy is a methodical process. They're building a new industry from the ground up. It starts with these controlled public demonstrations, then it moves to limited commercial routes, and then they'll gradually expand as the technology gets better and public trust grows. Now, of course, let's be real. There are still some significant challenges. Battery technology has to improve for longer flights. The upfront costs for all the charging infrastructure are pretty high. And like any aircraft, extreme weather can be a problem. But maybe the biggest hurdle of all is getting widespread public trust. But this is where Rwanda has a unique advantage. They've already been working on that challenge of public trust for years. When people see drones deliver life-saving blood to their local hospital every single day, the idea of another autonomous aircraft just doesn't seem so scary. They've already built that foundation of trust. Ultimately, this story is about so much more than just technology. It's about a new way of thinking. It suggests that in the 21st century, innovation isn't just about having the most money or resources. It's about having a clear vision and the political will to actually execute on it. By proving that a small country can lead the way in a revolutionary new industry, Rwanda has created a blueprint. It's a model that challenges the traditional path of development, and it could inspire nations everywhere to take bold, decisive action to shape their own future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on this channel.
Here's what most people don't understand about Rwanda's aviation strategy. They're not just importing technology, they're building local expertise. The country is training its own pilots